Full disclosure here. Over this last summer, I finally tried and got really into tabletop role-playing games, such as Dungeons & Dragons. But Pathfinder was my group's game of choice, and it was fantastic fun. The freedom and variety of missions and locations and worlds is unparalleled when you're tabletopping, and the amount of life you can breathe into any given character is limitless. I'd like to tell you that Knights of Pen and Paper personifies this to a T, but it's really just a clever RPG that pays homage to the tabletop games of old. Developed by the Brazilian Behold Studios, Knights of Pen and Paper puts you in the game room with a group of friends, which is always at the bottom of the screen while the game world is at the top. You technically play as both the players and the Dungeon Master. Each player fills one class role, and each class only has 4 abilities, with some of those being passive abilities. This is still a simple mobile game after all. Unlike most conventional RPGs, you don't control and move an avatar around the world in real time with random battle encounters. At each area, you choose whether you rest, start a quest, further the story, shop, or craft. You even choose when to fight, what enemies to fight, and how many of each you fight. In that way, you're also the Dungeon Master. As you gain experience points and earn money, you'll spend that money on in-game actions and unlocks. Traveling and resurrecting players has a price, as does the purchase of items, furniture, and decorations for your gaming area. These items aren't just cosmetic though, as they let you alter your game with small buffs, or let you raise the enemy cap to 7, or even add new players to the party. There isn't an in-app purchase system for currency if you don't feel like saving up for the more expensive items. Unfortunately, this currency system causes some serious problems. Quests are often very generic, and ask you to kill a certain number of enemies or collect a certain number of items by killing enemies. It's nice that you get to set your own challenge level, but when dying or just traveling back to a safe town will set you back a few dollars each time, you're far more motivated to play it safe and fight those 20 bats 1 or 2 at a time. And it's almost always 20 of something. Even fighting 3 or 4 enemies at a time, this makes the quests very generic and repetitive. I once got stuck in a forest with no money to travel or revive my fallen teammates. It was all up to my lone wizard to fight enemies one by one, rest, and then fight more until I could afford to leave. All because I spent a big chunk of change unlocking a 4th player. The story is also really basic, but the way it's told with your players commenting the whole time puts you in the mind space of a real tabletop gamer. Unfortunately, the Brazilian studio had some issues in the translation, with lots of lines in the vein of "we did not succeeded" or "I did not noticed." The retro visuals and chiptunes are really well done, and slightly reminiscent of a Kairosoft outing. This game is super charming, with great ideas at its core. It's also overflowing with nerdy references and in-jokes. Even though the execution of those ideas is somewhat lacking, I'm still going to recommend this $2 game, especially if you're a tabletop RPG player. Objectively, yes, it has its flaws, but because of that clever and charm, most people just don't seem to care. This has been Andrew with Appolicious.com, helping you find mobile apps you'll love.